Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be watching and reacting to a very highly requested video, INFJ tier ranking the 16 personalities by Dear Kristen. Now, I've seen some of Dear Kristen's videos before. I think they're fine. I do think in her earlier years of creating videos, the INFJ characters were lacking depth and distinction. And then she got a little bit better. But by this point, I think she's just descended into pure INFJ stereotypes. But she definitely can be funny. And she runs a comedy channel, so credit where credit is due. I have laughed a few times. But given that in my life, I crave, and I don't want to sound like a stereotype here, but I crave nuance. I only watch her videos here and there. I think she has great hair though. And let it be said for the record that I wish her no harm, so please, genuinely guys, do not go and leave hate comments in her videos. INFJs, we are above that. So we'll take this video with a pinch of salt, remembering that of course Kristen isn't an INFJ, so how could we expect her to understand us? Hopefully as an actual INFJ, I'll be able to offer a different perspective to whatever she's gonna say. So let's get started. Hello everyone, we are back with another episode of videos that I would make if I was an influencer, but in reality they'll probably just end up on my hard drive and no one will ever see them. Today we are doing something a little bit fun. I do actually have hard drive videos that I show to no one. 16 personality types, particularly the self-awareness levels of the 16 personality types. And no, not tier ranking, tier ranking, although the jury is still out on whether or not there will be tiers involved in today's video. Okay, so she's obviously gone for the overly emotional stereotype here. Funnily enough, I don't actually cry that much, especially by myself. I'm more of an empath crier, so that means I need an external source to trigger my cry response, and I don't really see that happening in this particular video, so. As we know, my extroverted feeling preference in my cognitive functions means that I do appear as quite a compassionate, kind and positive person, but I am actually deeply judgmental, so the extroverted feeling prevents me from actually saying these opinions out loud to the people in question. Okay, it slightly bothers me, just slightly, that she didn't elaborate on that, like why that might be the case or why it appears to be the case that we are judgmental. Thankfully, I'm here so I can provide the nuance that few can. We aren't judgmental because we think we are better than everyone. We know that we're better than everyone. No, look, is genuinely from a place of true altruism. At any given moment of the day, we can see how the world could attain perfect harmony in society. And so it genuinely deeply upsets us that humans are not living up to their potential to achieve perfect harmony. That's why we project our ideals onto other people and it seems like we're being judgmental. It's not actual judgment. We just want everyone to change the way in which they live their lives, and we believe that we have a right to dictate that because of this gift that we've been given, NI, which is unique and special. In fact, it's actually a burden sometimes. Question, which means that I do need to make videos like this as an outlet for my rage. So as you can see, we've got 5 different tiers here. I originally had 20 as there's actually... Okay, look, I'm not going to keep pausing this video, but I just feel like the implication that INFJs are harboring this rage is a little bit out of touch because we're NFs. We are highly aware of our emotions and emotions in general. The implication that our NI would be that out of tune, that we wouldn't be aware of the emotions that we are experiencing and that we'd be somehow suppressing them is just wrong. As INFJs, we are highly in tune to not only what we are feeling, but how those emotions might be coming out in our behavior. And so the idea that we would need to create some video behind the scenes as an emotional outlet for rage when realistically we have
very healthy outlets for our rage
doesn't really sit well with this INFJ. But this is just a video. We are taking it as comedy, so. But I've been trying to practice being more concise. So I spent the last couple of weeks distilling it down to 5. At the bottom here, you can see that just 5 categories. Okay, this is gonna bother me. Pretty self-explanatory. These are your people who... I need to stop taking this video so seriously. Loosen up, Rachel. I'm fun and cute and lighthearted and breezy. Okay.
Not only have they not come to terms with those wounds yet, but they are subconsciously suppressing them. The tier above is called regular human with subconscious wounds. The difference between regular humans with
I think you mean unconscious, but okay, sweetie.
Wounds being that those who are suppressing are lashing out and projecting those wounds onto other people in unhelpful ways. The third tier up is doing the work. So these are those people who have become.
I normally watch videos on 0.5 speed, so this is all going a little bit fast for me, so I'm just trying to follow.
Respecting in their private life, and they're actively doing the work to overcome those wounds or to change the behaviours. Then we reach our second highest tier, which is thinks they're self-aware, but really they're overanalyzing everything. This tier would include people who maybe have gone to therapy, maybe do a great degree of introspection, but they're doing so much of it that it has become unhealthy. Or perhaps they believe that they're self-aware for some reason. Maybe they've been involved in the pseudo-psych Instagram feeds. And so they think that they have the
Fair,
tools,
those
but
do bother
really
me.
They haven't done the actual work and ironically are far less self-aware than they realise. This might result in them
Okay, so not INFJs.
and blaming others when really the issue is with themselves. Now the placement of some people in this tier might come across as passive aggressive, but I'm not responsible for the different degrees of projection that you might put onto me in this video because of your own wounds that may or may not exist. And then we have the final tier, which is nothing left to learn.
I mean, valid, but I personally would have put it a little bit more passive aggressively than that.
And then we have the final tier, which is nothing left to learn, and that's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so we'll start with a nice easy
Okay, well,
one. Okay, none of
surely
these are
no one's
actually
going in
easy.
there.
This activity is actually a little bit hard because it's asking me to place people in black and white categories and doesn't leave a lot of room for nuance. But my therapist has told me in the past that I need to make an active effort to be more present and just sort of go with the flow, for lack of a better term. So I'm just going to go with my gut here. So we'll start with INTJ.
Okay, a few things. One, I never do a task unless I'm sure exactly why I'm doing it. Two, if I've reached the stage where I'm ready to make a video about something, I would have already pre-categorized the types into the categories long before the video so that I knew what I was talking about and had given it actual proper thought rather than improvising, because I can think of nothing worse. And three, for INFJs, following your gut and being present are not the same thing, because our gut actually tells us things well in advance. I mean, I'm not sure if this ESFP understands what NI is, but we basically can tell the future. And so our gut has already told us what to do long before the present has even arrived. I don't expect all of you to understand that, but if you know, you know.
Lots of potential here. INTJs are some of the deepest thinkers that I know, but I wouldn't actually say that their depth of thought is channeled into emotional realms. It's more sort of channeled into hating humanity. So I'm going to put them into the regular human
Hate to break it to you, but hate is an emotion.
with subconscious wounds category, but I do think it's going to be quite a while before they recognize that they actually need to go to therapy. Next on the list is ISFP.
And that's okay. I feel like this woman has not left enough space for empathy. Like, even my locked away secret hard drive videos show empathy. But you know what? That's just it, isn't it? We INFJs are the butt of the jokes in the MBTI YouTube sphere. And you know what? We've just got to suffer the burden of being misunderstood. But there's one thought that gives me peace at night, at least. It's the martyrs whose legacies live on.
Now, I have noticed that ISFJs are fellow people pleasers who seem to carry the weight of other people's problems on their shoulders. Of course, not as much as I do, because as an N, I'm, more capable of seeing into people's actual emotional problems. But because they're so sensitive to criticism,
That's actually correct.
and don't really practice a lot of boundaries, I feel like they're constantly trying to improve themselves so that they can be better for other people. And by that I mean that they're busy spending their time trying to be what other people need them to be. So I'm going to put them in the doing the work category, but they do have a lot of work to do. Next is...
And again, that's okay. Can we normalize having a lot of work to do, please? I mean, this caricature of an INFJ clearly has a lot of work to do. And I'm not saying that to be judgmental, So that means I'm not being judgmental. My intention is more important than however you perceive my words.
ESTP. I've not been secretive about what I think of ESTPs. Look, I'm not going to explain this one too much because my therapist told me that it's not good for my mental health to talk too much about ESTPs, but suffice it to say I'm going to put them in suppressing wounds. INFP.
Okay, so we are clearly stereotyping here, so pinch of salt. But I'd just like to say for the record that an INFJ would never bulk categorize an entire group of people into just one category. It's just not believable. It's actually laughable that dear Kristen thinks she's being nuanced here.
Brief story time. My sister is an INFP, and when I tell you that she overanalyzes, it's an understatement. I do really love her, but sometimes I just want to tell her that she needs to come back down to reality. However, we all know how incapable I am of being straightforward with people, hence why I'm doing the passive-aggressive tier list no one is ever gonna see. Now, I have written her a lot.
All right, I'll give her the passive-aggressive comment, but I do not think in my entire life I have ever said the phrase, come back down to reality. Because we all know reality is subjective. Your reality is different from my reality, and I would never try to take that away from you. Though, in all realities, INFJs are the rarest type. I should make that distinction, but that's just truth, and you can't argue with truth. Well, unless having different truths preserves the harmony in the group, in which case, of course, I'm okay with it.
INTPs aren't particularly emotionally aware, but I do genuinely get the sense that they are searching for answers to something. So I gotta give them props for that. I'm going to put them in the doing the work category because I do feel like to them life is a puzzle that they are trying to solve. And yeah, they might take longer to solve it than we emotionally mature folk, but they're trying and that's what counts. Speaking of emotionally...
Okay. I wasn't gonna bring this up, but do you think at some point in dear Kristen's life an INFJ really hurt her? Because she seems to be especially mean when it comes to INFJs. I mean, I think that's fair to say. Her stereotypes for the other types are nowhere near as bad. I mean, I don't pay attention to the other types, but her picking on such a esteemed and genuinely pleasant type such as ours can really only mean that there must be some wound on her end. And I don't say that lightly. Like, that's really saying something because I am
Generally a very understanding person.
just something to think about.
mature folk, ESFP. I'm kidding, there's just no way in heck. Suppressing wounds and I don't want to talk about it. Actually, you know what? I do want to talk about it. I just feel like
Yep, see? She's fabricated this supposed rift between ESFPs and INFJs that must exist in the world for everyone, right? But really, she's about as transparent as... I don't have any props. She's transparent is what I'm trying to say.
next we have ENTP. Now, they probably should go in suppressing wounds, but I actually currently have a crush on an ENTP, and so I very much idealized them and deluded myself into believing that they are doing the work. ISFP. Okay.
No.
Okay, I feel like I should have put a category for enigma. ISFPs are so easy to be around and they don't ever cause conflict.
Okay, that is the most ridiculous thing that she's said so far. No one's an enigma to me, sweetie.
ISTJ. Oh, I'm so glad we're talking about them now because I feel like I've been really negative so far. Huge potential. One of my good friends is actually an ISTJ and we have a lot of fun together. But, you know, people have different interests and they clearly have no interest in self-awareness. And that's fine. I'm not here to judge as long as they're not hurting anyone.
They can stay put while the rest of us are growing.
So I'm going to put them in regular human.
Okay, look, I'm gonna skip ahead in this video because, to be honest, it's just getting a bit stale for me. Oh, INFJs are so passive-aggressive. INFJs think that they know everything about everyone. INFJs are obsessed with nuance. These recurring bits that literally never change just don't interest someone like myself with high intelligence and refined tastes. And that's nothing against you, Kristen. Truly. She's doing her thing, let her keep doing her thing. Do I wish that she wasn't perpetuating these harmful stereotypes? Of course, but she's an ESFP. And we can't expect more from ESFPs, can we? I do, however, want to see what she does with the INFJ type, although my NI is telling me, if I really listen, that she's going to put us in the top tier.
And lastly, that leaves INFJs.
This is fun.
Okay, so that's all I have for you guys today.
Yep, I was right. What's new? I bet she thought she was throwing a curveball for INFJs here, but joke's on you. We INFJs are literally always a step ahead. It's worth saying, of course, that this take is wrong because there's no way an INFJ, a self-respecting INFJ, a self-aware INFJ, would put themselves in nothing left to learn. There are endless things to learn about the self, and that's actually our whole shtick, even from a stereotypical perspective. So I don't even know what point she was trying to make here. I think that her unconscious bias against INFJs is hurting her comedy. Hot take. But, you know, some people find her funny. I even do. I laugh sometimes, but not when it's to do with my type, because that's when I decide to suddenly take her videos seriously. So I'm gonna leave this video here. This was actually a lot of fun. It's nice. Look, despite whatever I said, it's actually nice to get a glimpse of some of the other content out there in the Myers-Briggs space and how other types perceive us. I'm mature, so I don't take it seriously, and I encourage all you INFJs in the audience to not take content on Myers-Briggs on YouTube specifically, which offers just very little nuance, too seriously. Thanks to Dear Kristen. If you happen to watch this video, my inbox is always open if you would like me to come on your channel and maybe offer some more nuance on the INFJ personality type. I'm the most learned with that, so I know you've had INFJs on your channel, but I'm the most learned, so you should choose me. Until next time, have a lovely day, guys. Bye. Okay, so what we can see from this particular INFJ is that she is what?
Projecting.
That's right, she's projecting. And she's certainly not the norm when it comes to INFJs, as she is very clearly bringing her own unconscious biases.